John chapter 10 and Proverbs Chapter 1, classic chapters. And I realize most people are going to dive in on the Good Shepherd and My Sheep Hear My Voice, and that's some of the best nuggets in the Bible, so I commend you for finding those. But I asked the Lord today to show me something I had never seen in each of these chapters since I've read them so many times, and the Lord is so good. So I have two really tiny little nuggets, but they refreshed me and strengthened me today. So in John chapter 10, verses 23 and 24, it says these words. It says, actually at the end of verse 22, let's start with 22. Then came the feast of dedication at Jerusalem, and John adds these words, it was winter. Verse 23, and Jesus was in the temple walking in Solomon's colonnade. Now, the fact that it was winter means it was probably a little less crowded. The Jews, and then here's the words I want to zero in on, gathered around him, saying, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly. So I just kind of looked at that and began to look it up in the Strong's Concordance, the original Greek. And the original Greek word there for gathered around them in the Greek means to besiege. And later on in the New Testament, it's used of when the Romans besieged Jerusalem. It's also used to tell the story of when the Jews besieged Jericho. And so I began to think, wow, okay, so this was an intimidating word. This is a time where they actually caught Jesus. Maybe Solomon's colonnade was kind of spread out. Maybe Jesus got to walk on a little faster. He got walking out a little bit ahead of his disciples. And they kind of gang rushed him. They kind of bum rushed him. And all of a sudden, before you know it, Jesus is surrounded by some bully people, some dangerous people who are kind of, chest bumping him and coming in tough. And maybe they got some buried weapons. We don't know. But it was a very physically intimidating situation, which kind of gives a backdrop to later on in verse 31 when they tried to kill him, that they kind of came into this situation planning maybe murderous thoughts. So I had never seen that before, just one little nugget that I found very interesting that gave me a little backdrop to later on when they did try to kill him. Now we'll go over to Proverbs Chapter 1, and again, one of the greatest chapters in the Bible, and I've read it many times, but today, as I was reading it, I said, Lord, show me something I've never seen before. So I was zeroing in on verses 8 and 9. Listen, my son, to your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. And I really kind of was pausing on verse 9. They will be a garland to grace your head and a chain to adorn your neck. And I began to think about that, began to read it in different versions. I really was struck by the Amplified version, because what it's saying here is, I've known young people, teenagers, young adults, who really honor their parents, who go out of their way to honor their parents. And the thing that struck me is everyone can see the favor of God on these young people. They're diligent, they're kind, they're respectful, they work hard, they're great students, they're great employees when you hire them. They're godly, and the fear of God is in their life. They seek God diligently, and everyone just sees the favor of God. They get promoted, they have great friends, they're trusted by people. And so in the Amplified Bible, verse 9 says that these young people who really honor their parents, it says, for they wear a victor's garland of grace upon their head, and chains and pendants of gold that are worn by kings are upon their neck. Now, these chains and pendants were big, glittery, gorgeous, not just chains, but pendants that covered the whole chest, and these big, beautiful garlands. And so God's word says that when you honor your parents, the favor of God is so perfumed, and these garlands would have flowers on them, were perfumed, and so rich, gold necklaces and gold pendants, that everyone can see the favor of God on you. May the favor of God be magnificent and overwhelming on your life this day. God bless you so much.